So, Eric Adams has been in the news recently. Like he is he the acting mayor of New York now?
Yes, as of January 1.
As of January, so he's the acting mayor of New York, and he's been on on a press run, and his messaging. I don't know if you guys, people who are listening right now and watching who are from New York. I've been watching him, and I'm so confused. Because on one end, he'll say something that just echoes what de Blasio was doing. And then on the other end, I'm just kind of like, yeah, I agree. I'm way all over the place with dude, right? He's been talking about implementing back in New York City plainclothes cops to get guns off the streets, right? I remember the stop and frisk stuff. I remember when that was happening. It was terrible. But at the same time, right, at the very same time, if you are in New York and you see what's happening in the streets, you kind of agree, like, damn, these guns do need to get up the street.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, y'all niggas are wilding.
Yeah.
People are getting killed left and right for nothing.
For no reason at all.
I'm seeing, it's crazy, and I'm in the Bronx, you know what I'm saying? So I'm really around it. So on one end, I agree, like, something does need to happen, but on the other end, I'm not for racist policing, and what I'm seeing, and I already feel like he's about to be him, and the police commission, they're about to just be black faces to implement these racist policies.
Absolutely, so that it doesn't seem so blatant. Absolutely.
So I'm torn. You know what I mean? Very torn. Like, and he was talking about, not closing down the city because we need, we can't let COVID scare us. I agree. Oh snap! And then he's talking about mandating boosters for city workers. Whoa, slow down. I don't agree with that. It's
right.
I'm all over the place with this guy, man.
Yeah, and first of all, he's going to have a tough job ahead, as we know, because he's simply just a figurehead. These unions, the fire department union, good old boys.
Yes.
The police department union, good old boys.
Facts.
Corrections, good old boys. Sanitation, good old boys. So they are the heartbeat of the city. And they're not going to let no nigga, just keeping it a bean, come through. And a nigga chick, too. Bro.
A nigga chick?
A nigga chick? A niglet? Little niglet and shit. They're not going to allow them to come and implement too much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they make their money by the city being in a certain way that it is. He's talking about fighting gangs. That's organized crime. That's the police department.
Allegedly.
Okay? That's how they make their extra money for their beautiful house out in Staten Island and Long Island. You don't think they make that on a police salary, do you? So when you start talking, you're going to attack that at its core. You're on your own. So on the surface, but he is a cop.
Exactly.
He is a cop.
He is a cop.
He's a cop.
And when you start talking, like, in your messaging, and when you listen to politics and you pay attention to politics, when politicians are real big on policing, he's a Democrat, but Republicans love that. Conservative people, they love that. Oh, like you said, the good old boy, they love that, right?
Yes.
So you give them more power to police. And again, those plainclothes cops, right? To get guns off the street and stuff like that, they could pull over and they can pull anybody to the side. And
so now I'm living in a state of fear from the police and the gangbangers.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So that's not going to be the answer to the problem. However, something has to be done.
Yeah.
Somebody has to come up with something innovative where the guns are off the street and not... Listen, I'm all with the militant shit. Those who are militant who have guns, they're not just carrying them around.
Yeah.
They have guns for a specific purpose. I'm not talking about giving up your guns. If you are just walking around the street with a gun on you for no apparent reason, you are a derelict. And the vibration of the gun alone, I'm telling you, whenever one of us had it on us, we just agitated more shit in the street because we knew we could handle that. All right, I'm talking about growing up and stuff like that. So it's something about having that piece on you. You just get a little bit more bolder. You stare a nigga down a little bit more like, what, my nigga? No, I was saying excuse me. But it was how you were saying excuse me, my nigga. Like, is there a problem? Is there a motherfucking problem?
You stepped on my shoe, went an hour ago.
An hour ago. So understand, it's the wild, wild west in New York City.
Yeah, it is.
Too many people are carrying guns who shouldn't with no consequence.
And you know what's
they
crazy?
just walking around like I got it on me.
And you know what's crazy? Dudes in New York City, because New York gun laws are so strict, they were so they had it on them like it was a different type of different type of smarts with criminals back in the day, right?
Oh, of
because
course.
you know if you get caught with this,
Right.
You know
Right.
it's minimum 7 years, right?
Right.
5 7, right?
Right.
But the fact that they just willingly have it out, everybody's a shooter now. Before you had dedicated shooters on the block,
Absolutely.
right? You had dedicated
You knew who the shooters was.
that nigga, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? You knew who the shooters were. Now everybody's a shooter.
Right.
Now Bronx drill rappers. I don't know if you. We didn't talk about K-Flock. This Bronx drill rapper named K-Flock. He just started like really bubbling.
Mm-hmm.
He got arrested for murder.
Yes.
Right.
You think he might beat that case?
He's gonna beat it on the because he's not gonna beat the gun charge.
Right. He can't beat the gun.
He's not gonna beat the gun charge because like we just talked about how strict New York guns are. Like
Right.
the gun
Gun
laws
laws.
are. But the article that came out and said that he walked past the barbershop, saw somebody, said something to him, said come outside, and then they got into it. Then he clapped him. But I saw 2 camera angles that he walked past the barbershop
And kept
the
walking.
dude walked out and said something to him, turned around, then came back and followed him, and then he got clapped. So
Right.
he can get off on those grounds. Like, it didn't happen the way they said, but the gun, he's
absolutely.
not going to beat that at all.
Not gonna beat the gun charge, and they carrying them in their book bags like fucking
And
calculators.
it's legal to wear a mask? I could just wear my mask?
That's another component that we're not factoring in. I'm anonymous now.
Yeah.
You think you can't prove that's me
Yeah.
unless you have concrete, and the jails are too filled with the COVID cases. They're not getting around. These dudes are bailing out, and they back on the streets in 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So that whole environment has fostered in, like I'm ready to let this thing happen. Now, for regular civilians who are governing themselves, that's dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because you look like meat. You fresh ground beef to them, and they know how these things work. So something needs to be done. And I do know a lot of those police officers are on code, and they pulled back. They just showed a case where the 2 officers was at a door in New York City and heard the gun go off and was like, what was that? And the dude was like,
What?
And then they left.
Oh.
They had their cameras on that. They got suspended.
Oh, wow.
And the dude had got clapped inside. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So they walked away from a live crime scene. Because we know police don't show up when it's popping off.
Yeah.
They show up when it's over.
Yeah.
And then they want to poke out their chest. They walked away. Like,
Wow.
what was that? You know what a gunshot sound like.
Oh,
because
that's crazy.
Those meters that we have in New York City that detect, it picked it up. So it knew, and they showed up while these niggas was leaving. And where y'all niggas going? It's crime upstairs. And so they got suspended. So I know police officers have been on code for a while after we vilified them.
Oh,
in the public press, and they say, yo, fall back.
And I remember when de Blasio said something.
Free world boss.
Free world boss.
Bless you.
Thank you, man.
Bless you.
Somebody
Appreciate
else
you.
sent us some bread.
Yes.
Thank you as well, guys. We appreciate
We
it.
appreciate
We were just kind of into it.
Yes, we get to yapping.
Who was that?
Rashida Terry.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
But I remember when de Blasio said something, and I think this is during the stop and frisk days, and he said something like, yo, I'm worried for my black son. Said something to that effect.
Yes.
And then I remember it was like a press conference where cops were there, and they turned their back on de Blasio.
Yes, all of them turned
Their back on him.
No,
I was
absolutely.
Like, yo.
So, no, they are tied in. And that's not just the NYPD, LAPD, Chicago PD. That's an oath that they take. They mean that shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So something has to take place in New York City with how many people are carrying guns with masks on and going anonymously and able to just shoot people up with no consequence. So if I sound like a Uncle Tom nigga, I'm just saying, bro.
Definitely Uncle Ruckus.
Yeah, put Uncle Ruckus.
Definitely
I told many black people walk around with guns.
Yeah.
And I want to be a white person so bad. I really believe in all these white folks. I'm going to get me a white woman, too. I mean, you know what I mean? What are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
So hopefully he will come in and do within the small window they're gonna give him to operate, because they're gonna slow down, nigga. You're moving too fast.
Yeah.
You know. So we'll see what happens.
All right, we'll take a quick commercial break,
Yes.
and we shall return.